Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind. Georgia on my mind.
Welcome to episode 44 of the Winging It podcast. I'm Ali, he's Alex, he's Andrew. Gentlemen, last week we saw another just professional, amazing display from our dear friend, our dear GM, Howie Roseman, and just a spectacular display of what it means to draft and be sort of the talk of the town. How are you guys feeling after this week?
Feeling pretty good, man. I think Howie Roseman has gotten a ton of flack on how he's drafted before, so there's always that moment of uncertainty heading into here. But I think Howie did the right thing, and by all accounts, every major sports outlet, USA, Fox Sports, all of the mock draft sites gave the Eagles the highest grade in the draft of an A+, to say that we did it right. Doesn't mean it's always going to pan out correctly, but I think Howie Roseman wasn't trying to act like the smartest guy in the room, wasn't trying to take a unique angle like those Jalen Reagor over Jay Jall or JJ Arcega-Whiteside over DK like moves. We got the best players available at the right time, and we got players from the best defensive school in the first round. So it's absolutely incredible. I'm so looking forward to a football season. Andrew, how do you feel?
Yeah, man, we didn't get cute. But we dropped it like it's hot.
Yes, sir.
Freaking steamy hot. First off, guys, this is the first time that we've been united as a collective for the first time in a while. Last few episodes, we've kind of been, it hasn't been all three of us. So now we're back. It's the 44th episode. When I was younger, 44 was always my favorite number. I would make my players number 44 in video games. And then I come to realize my birthday is February 13th. That's the 44th day of the year. I was born on the 44th day of 1988. And why do I say this? Because Javon Carter, number 88, baby. The number I'm dropping my mic. I'm losing my
saying his name wrong and everything.
Dude, This was the best draft. And here we are again saying this is the best Eagles team of my life. And now here we are and I'm saying this is the best draft I've ever experienced. But it's not hyperbole. It is. We didn't get cute. We did we're drafting defensive players from Georgia. We're drafting offensive players from Alabama. What a freaking concept. I love this team more and more. Yeah. Yep, I see you, and I see you. I'm just so proud of where we're at right now. I know that all of us were feeling a little uneasy after the end of last season, but now I need to redirect it to both of you because you two are crying up a storm. Oh no, we're losing Javon Hargrave. We're losing our linebackers. We're not the same team anymore. Guess what, guys? We're better. We are better, and we are younger, and we are faster, and we are stronger, and you both can suck it. I'm just kidding. I love you both. I'm just so excited. Ali, I'll start with you. Where are you going into this draft? I mean, none of us, I don't think, expected to come out as excited, and we are going to go through the draft picks, but you were feeling uneasy at the end of last season. How do you feel now?
I feel better. I don't feel like we're going back to the Super Bowl just because it's still a really difficult game to get to and so many things have to go right for you. Injuries were not a factor for us for the most part last year outside of a couple of games with Jalen Hurts. I feel better going into this season knowing what we lost coming out of last season, but I will still be cautiously optimistic going into the next season.
That's fair. Alex?
Yeah, I mean, listen, our personnel on the coaching side is totally different. We lost our offensive and our defensive coordinator and brought in Matt Patricia as a defensive assistant. What a fall from grace he has, going from coaching a team to now like a defensive assistant who probably won't even be on the field during the games. We haven't talked about that at all. I think from an actual on paper standpoint, our team is freaking stacked. But we also understand how important coaching can be. And we've debated this multiple times. We do it all the time. Is it the players or is it the coaching? Can good talent outweigh bad coaching, or is good coaching making the talent look absolutely elite? So we'll just have to see. I will say, though, that regardless of what happens, we made the right moves here. Now, does it mean that every draft grade and these guys will never fizzle out and there's no concerns whatsoever? I think there may be some concerns because Georgia had such a stacked team. A lot of these players rotated in. The biggest concern we had about Jordan Davis was his conditioning. How many snaps is he going to be able to play? And he was gassed a lot last year. It's going to be the same thing for some of these defensive players coming in. Still think the talent is elite, but don't think that these picks don't come without any fault.
Yeah, well, that's everywhere. That's everywhere. And I think that the reality is that going into this draft, Javon Carter, our first pick, we traded up from pick 10.
Jalen Carter.
I said Javon.
Yeah, you said it earlier in the episode too. Just know, any good player in our team, Jalen's his first name. If you don't know, just say Jalen, and you're probably right.
Who's Javon Carter?
You're thinking of Javon Hargrave. Defensive line. It makes sense. It makes sense. I forgive you.
Either that or
speaking of which,
Bucks,
if you guys hadn't watched the clip of Micah Parsons reacting to the draft of Jalen Carter, I mean, he made such a good point, right? Javon Hargraves leaves and goes to San Francisco, gets an $80 million contract. And then knowing Jalen Carter coming in, is probably going to sign about a $20 million contract. That's a $60 million value that we gained on this elite potential Pro Bowler coming in. I'm excited.
Micah was absolutely besides himself, and it's hilarious. Like, it just seems like he
so
wants
clear.
to be an Eagle.
It's so clear.
So bad. He loves Philly, man. He loves Philly.
I'm fine with that. We can have Hassan Reddick and Micah Parsons both coming in from opposite directions. We'll break new team sack records. But we got Jalen Carter. He not to be confused with Javon Carter. Sorry again about that, Jalen. When you eventually come on the show, of course. But Jalen Carter was viewed as the number one overall prospect. Obviously, we've all heard about the story. This comes with some character concerns. And just to kind of give a quick synopsis of what happened, he was involved in, drag racing is illegal. He was racing, and it was the other car that he was racing, that car crashed, and the two people who were in that vehicle unfortunately passed away.
Hours after they won a championship, too.
Just kind of reminds me of, it sounds like the scene from Remember the Titans. Like, didn't they go out celebrating and then like a car comes and crashes into the linebacker's car, something like that? So, drag racing is illegal. Yes. We have all been 20, 21 years old. And look, this is something that Jalen Carter's going to have to live with. I know this is going to be a forever struggle. This is something that he's going to have to live with forever. And I think that is punishment, on its own. Accidents happen, and it sucks that it came at the cost of 2 innocent lives, but it was a mistake. There was no intent behind it. I don't want to play the comparison game, but like, we really hear some really poor character issues with abuse and things like that. So again, not to compare one against the other, but he's coming to a team where he has teammates. He has Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean that he used to be teammates with, people that he looked up to. So I think that this is the perfect spot for him to land. You just join a nucleus of a defense that has so much firepower already. So heck of a way to start off the draft, getting the number one prospect, and I can't wait to see what he's able to do.
Yeah, and really quick on his character, I actually had a person reach out to me from another fan base and had a discussion with me around it. So like, are you concerned? I don't know if I'd want him on my team and all of this. And I think you kind of said it right there, Andrew, is like, he's gonna have to live with that guilt for a while. He lost teammates into there. I'm not proud to say it, but man, in my early 20s, I was doing a lot of really dumb stuff. There's a lot of stuff I look back on, I'm just like, man, I could have gotten pulled over, or I shouldn't have been driving that fast, or I was so close to this. I actually lost a really close friend I had throughout high school to an accident where he was driving too fast and he ended up hitting a tree. I do think that we don't know his character, but I also think that he is going to be entering It's funny. I actually work with a colleague. He was an ex-NBA scout, and he said part of the Eagles' decision is also going to look at those character concerns and say, will he fit with the leadership style in our locker room? He said that there has been like very obvious NBA players that don't get drafted by specific teams because the locker room is too out of control. I think when you look at who's at the helm of the locker room here, and you have a leader in Jalen Hurts, you have these veteran guys like Lane Johnson, Kelsey, who else, you have the teammates there. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of accountability that's going to make sure that this man doesn't end up like Henry Ruggs, who obviously never learned anything. But during that season, I'm not trying to make any comparisons. The Las Vegas Raiders franchise was in shambles that year that he got into accident. They went through a new owner, coach, Gruden got fired. There was all this stuff going on. Mm-hmm. And then you have guys like Jalen Hurts, who has the locker room. Devonta Smith doesn't go out. He just like practices football every day and doesn't leave the house until he catches 100 passes. Like, that's
he should go eat. He should eat at some point. Maybe have a meal, put on some weight.
He needs some more of those cheesesteaks. But
right.
I share that. I think only time will tell. But I do think that we're a really good landing spot for him. I think a place like Dallas would be detrimental to him because they're all trash.
It's funny. Yeah. I was trying to remember the player from a couple years ago whose draft stock slipped a little bit. So Laramie Tunsil, I think, an offensive lineman, he was drafted back in 2016, and that he was viewed as a bit of a draft day disaster. I think he had a poor combine. I know Jalen had a really bad combine, and this was like right after the incident happened, and he put on some weight. His combine numbers were really low. Well, Laramie Tunsil, someone who was also viewed as a character struggle, he's now the highest paid offensive lineman in all of the NFL. So, hey, I'm hoping Jalen can follow suit. It's like, okay, let people have their questions or have their character questions and just go prove it on the field, go earn that highest paid contract, all that good stuff. But it did kind of remind me of, was it the weed mask where it was just, there was a picture of him that circulated with like, he was smoking weed
through a gas mask.
And that
Which if you never smoke weed through a gas mask, are you even living?
Seriously, just let the guy have some freaking fun. So again, there are levels. There are levels to kids being kids.
Yeah.
But hey, it is not out of the question for somebody who was questions on draft day to really prove themselves. So I'm excited.
Yeah, Ali, any thoughts on all of that?
And yeah, so Javon Carter. We got to keep the name up, Andrew. I'm sorry, I have to.
We're gonna people are gonna like unsubscribe. I mean, these guys have no idea what the heck they're talking about.
He's the backup point guard on the freaking Milwaukee Bucks. Just don't look. I got basketball mind right now. Sixers Celtics start tonight. It's my bad. It's my bad, guys.
Is Embiid playing?
It's looking grim. I suppose there's still hope. Yeah. It's hilarious. Go on.
No, I like the pickup. I think that if he hadn't gotten into that incident with the drag racing, he would have definitely been picked up top 5 at least. I was honestly personally surprised that we were able to get him. I wasn't even entertaining the idea that we were going to get Jalen Carter within the top 10. And then when I saw how he jumped to pick number 9, I was like, oh boy, here we go. Right. We knew it was coming. We knew it was coming. I didn't want to I didn't want to get my hopes up, but no, definitely.
I was frightened. Yeah, I was just going to say, because the Bears had picked number 9. They picked right before us. And I was looking at the Bears, like they could very 100%. Well use Jalen Carter. Yeah. And I was really worried that they were going to, I'm like, we're so close. We're so close. Like, who was it? It was one team took a Witherspoon. I think it was a cornerback. And it felt like it was a bit of a reach. And then seeing Bijan go number 8, like our boy Colin called it he said, I could see Atlanta taking Bijan. When they took, I'm like, this is this could actually
No,
happen.
I
Sorry.
think
Yeah.
it
I was
was
scared.
like there. I saw a couple of mock drafts that had the Bears taking Jalen Carter, so I for sure didn't think that he was going to be there by the time we got to pick 10. But to your point, Alex, about coming into a program that is well rounded and has leaders, I mean, just look at the defensive line. We've got Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Like these are guys that he's going to look up to and learn from. Even if both those guys, this is their last year, like that 1 year alone is going to have a tremendous impact on the guy. And then on top of that, you got guys like Slay, you've got guys like Bradbury, and all the other leaders that you mentioned on the O line and on the offense. I feel good about this guy. I think he made a mistake. I'm hopeful that he learned from it. It definitely looked like he was sweating bullets on draft day. I mean, the fact that he came out just bawling his eyes out, like it was almost like a relief that he got drafted, knowing that he had to go through what he just went through over the last couple of months. I'm hopeful that this guy is gonna do good things, and he's gonna have a positive life outside of football.
Yeah, I absolutely cannot wait to see him. Apparently he was wearing midnight green socks to the draft. So like I think he had his mind made up on where he wanted to go. Here's a really interesting stat. The Eagles used only one of their own picks to draft players this year, and that was pick number 30, Nolan Smith, who a lot of mocks had Nolan Smith going at our 10 spot. The other 6 players drafted came from other teams' picks via trades. This was just like so wonderfully orchestrated. And when you see teams that stock up on this caliber during the draft, it's usually after teams tank or they don't have a good year. They have a lot of high picks. The fact that we just went to a Super Bowl and loaded up on these guys is pretty insane. I didn't actually see any drafts mocks that had Jalen Carter going to us because it was so unlikely that he was going to fall that low. Nolan Smith.
Oh my God.
at 30. I mean, can we just it didn't even seem like a possibility. And as the picks started coming in and as we started getting closer, our phones were insane. I mean, every single group chat. I mean, you guys were going nuts. And then the pick came across Nolan Smith. I thought maybe he could go to Dallas. Didn't. Fell to us. Wild.
I swear, I was so confident he was going to go to Dallas. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they've had a past Nolan, or maybe it was. I know that they've had Smiths before, just like every other team. Maybe Emmett Smith. I don't know. I was thinking of. And they had a linebacker a couple years ago that I wanted the Eagles to draft. Maybe Jalen Smith. I could just be making up. It was probably Javon or Jalen. I don't know at this point, but. I really thought that he was going to be a Cowboy and he was going to be a player that was going to give us fits, another Sean Lee or another Micah Parsons. And like there was that wide receiver run that went in the 20s. I think 4 straight wide receivers went, one of which was a wide receiver from TCU, and all after feeling sick to my stomach from PTSD of drafting a TCU wide receiver, Jalen Reagor, for those who don't know. Nolan Smith started to feel like a real possibility. And I know that was a name that we have discussed just as somebody who could be there at 10. So you get another Georgia Bulldog. You get another stud from the best defense in all of college football. You didn't overthink it. You made the right pick. It fell right into your lap. This doesn't feel like something that happens to the Eagles where the rich get richer. You just said we just won a Super Bowl and you're not expecting to like find these treasures in the draft right afterwards. Like, what are we, the 2004 Patriots? Like, that's what it feels like. We just find these gems that keep dropping right into our laps. So, what are we? Are we the Broad Street Bulldogs now? Like, are we just Georgia? Are we the Georgia Masters program? Whatever it is, I'm loving this new way of doing things, and just keep on bringing them, baby. So. Love to see it.
Yeah, and just like for all of our listeners, so our number 9th pick, Jalen Carter, is a defensive tackle, and Nolan Smith is an edge rusher. And boy, this dude's highlight reel, wasn't he running like a 4? He's quick. I'm just saying, dude, you got Hassan Reddick and this guy coming at you. Are you kidding me? Like teams are so they're going to be so frustrated.
Yeah, Nolan Smith
watching
had
this.
he had the fastest 40-yard dash and the highest vertical among all defensive linemen at the combine.
Oh,
so
my
he's
goodness.
a freak athlete.
Oh my
Absolute
goodness.
stud.
And then shortly after that, we get the announcement. And I was listening to Ray Didinger. I think I got that name right, Andrew. I know usually I'm like butchering all of these Eagles talents and Packard and all this, but I think I got Ray Didinger right.
It's
And-
Gingerer. It's
Yeah,
Gingerer.
And he made a note after Jahmyr Gibbs went over to the Lions that we could potentially trade for DeAndre Swift, which, by the way, elite running back name. His last name's Swift. That's like almost like your boy Kenny McIntosh, just because like he should be in the Hall of Fame just for his name alone. DeAndre Swift is like a running back name.
It's a beautiful name.
We traded a 2023 7th round pick and a 2025 4th round pick to get DeAndre Swift. So yes, our defensive is stacked. We're going to talk more about some of our other draft picks, but I just want to name some names out to you here.
Well, he's another Bulldog. You know, while
He
you're
is
on the
another
topic
Bulldog.
of
Why not?
Bulldogs, there's
Why-
another Georgia.
why not?
Just, again, bring them all. Just keep them coming.
Picture this offense. You have Jordan
I can't.
Mailata, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, starting at quarterback, Jalen Hurts, handing the ball off to DeAndre Swift with one of the best tight ends of the league in Dallas Goedert. And you have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. And we're not even talking about wide receiver 3 or 4 yet. Like Zacchaeus may blow up. There may be some other good players we're talking about. Those are just a few of the guys that are going to be starting on this offense. Guys, I've had fantasy teams way worse than that. This is insane that this is our roster coming into a year after we went into the Super Bowl. It's absolutely wild.
For those who may not be familiar with DeAndre Swift, first off, he's from Philadelphia. So bringing a Philly boy back home is always sweet. Hassan Reddick, round 2? Yes, thank you very much. How about this, guys? There are 5 players in NFL history who have rushed for 1,500 yards with an average of 4.6 yards per carry or higher and caught 150 passes in their first 3 seasons. Swift is one of them. Also in that group is Alvin Kamara, LaShawn McCoy, Christian McCaffrey, and William Andrews, who I've never heard of, so it must be he must have not played any time recently. But that's some pretty nice company. DeAndre Swift, he's in a contract year. He's still on his rookie deal. My man's making like 1.77 mil. So again, Howie just let's bring in a player on their last year of their deal for a cheap amount, just like Gardner Johnson. I don't know if we'll be able to re-sign Swift after this year, but hey, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. You just added another an absolute home run hitter. Flashback to a year ago, guys. Game 1 of the Eagles season was against the Lions. I don't know if you guys remember, but we got
Swift did
absolutely ran over.
Yep.
DeAndre Swift had 15 carries for 144 and a touchdown. They almost beat us. You know, like we had that beautiful undefeated streak, but that almost ended week 1 thanks to DeAndre Swift. This is just, it just adds, you know, you add to a stacked backfield already with Rashad Penny and Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott and Howie, man. Bravo. Bravo, Howie.
What do
Alex,
you think, Ali, about the Swift pickup?
I'm remembering a text that you sent on Friday night where you were like, are we
He's 24.
He's 24. He's 24 on his rookie deal. You asked a question to the group. You were like, "Are we smart or are they dumb?" To be honest, right now it looks like they're dumb.
Yeah.
Is there C, all the above? Because, I mean, we're not even talking about the Lions using the number 12 pick on Gibbs, who was looked at as a second round pick. Like, that was a leap. And like, is that the smartest use of their assets? You trade a stud running, like I get drafting a new one. Okay, your replacement. But like, again, we talk about running back. Is that the best thing to do? Is to use your number 12 pick on a running back that might be a second?
I think this is
Anyway,
why,
sorry.
even though in the era of the salary cap, that we see these teams consistently be bad, like the Cleveland Browns, like the Detroit Lions.
Correct.
Like this is just bad management at work. And with the Eagles, I mean, how many NFC championships have we been to since Howie Roseman became the general manager? How many Super Bowls have we been to?
I don't know if it's really bad management. I think the Lions have gotten significantly better, and I think they, with Aaron Rodgers leaving that division, are going to be playoff bound next year, and they have a really good committee over there. I think what they gave up for Swift And the fact, and like Swift does have some injury concerns, right? Like I think other people, like let's say there's a Carolina Panthers podcast, they may be looking at us saying Miles Sanders has had his best year as a Philadelphia Eagle. Why would they get rid of him, right? So like I wouldn't say that like we got a first rounder, right? Like, but I like the fact I like what we did more, because if Swift doesn't cost you a lot, Jahmyr Gibbs isn't going to cost you a lot. You have a whole year to really figure out what you want to do, or even in the middle of the season, you can trade him before the season starts. Get him behind a vet. They still have Jamal Williams, right? We talked about this. They still have Jamal Williams. Who's like
I don't think so. No, they bought in David Montgomery from the Bears. I think Jamal Williams may have gone
They
elsewhere.
lost him to free agency.
New Orleans.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to say that like they're dumb and we fleeced them, because I do think they are building assets for a potential playoff run coming up.
I mean, like even their wide receivers, they drafted Jamison Williams in the first round last year. He was hurt, I believe, for maybe more than half of the season, but he started to play towards the end. They have Amon St. Brown.
Love St. Brown, man.
Yeah, St. Brown's awesome. He's awesome. They have a great offense. I guess, like, did the Lions get enough in return for Swift? Because if Swift's a talented player and his contract is that cheap, it's like, you don't have to be in a rush to trade him. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
You can trade him during the season to a contender who maybe is dealing with injury woes. You could be the 49ers bringing in Christian McCaffrey, so that's why it feels like they kind of, I don't know if they optimized their return, but then again, to your point, Swift is a running back. All running backs to a degree are injury prone, but Swift has had some injury concerns. And, I guess if they don't look at him as a 3-down back, which they've never given him that role, then maybe they're fine with getting a 4th round pick in 2 years.
I mean, look at quarterback. Look at quarterback.
Yeah.
The Detroit Lions traded Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff. Not the most ideal pick.
Well, and picks
right.
too. And Stafford's, I don't know if Stafford's ever going to return back.
He did win a Super Bowl.
He did win a Super Bowl.
And you can't tell me that Matthew Stafford is as good as Jared Goff. Or I'm sorry, that Jared Goff's as good as Matthew Stafford. Other way.
He's not, but Goff was dealing at the end of last season, guys. I'm just saying.
I think Goff is he's fine enough for a team to be a playoff team, but
no, and he reminds me of like Taylor Heineke.
Yeah,
that's like the level of talent when I think of Jared Goff. So they gave up Matthew Stafford, who's an elite quarter.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah,
Taylor Heineke can't throw. There. Heineke can't throw the ball. He's scrappy and he can run and he can win. But like
Goff was in a Super Bowl. I mean, he had an elite team. He was in a Super Bowl. He really rejuvenated the Lions this year upcoming. I do think we're going to have an Eagles-Lions game coming this postseason, and Jared Goff is going to lead them out of the tunnel there. So, like, I'm not saying don't sleep on Jared Goff, but I think that we're about to see a new contender in that division, because I can't think of another quarterback outside of Jalen Hurts in the NFC. So it's going to be Goff. It may be Cousins. I don't know. Like, I don't know who else is going to be to play with. It has to be someone.
Who's going to be starting? Who's starting for San Francisco this year? I don't know.
I think they're going to give it to Purdy, and then they'll realize after 4 weeks he was just a fluke last year. That's what it's. That's what's going to happen. They're going to go back to Trey Lance. They're going to have to.
The Eagles gave him the permanent yips. Yeah. He's just going to be seeing. He's just going to be seeing ghosts for the rest of his.
You know what? They've really just started to like really get underneath my skin. It's just like one of the more annoying franchises. And I've always liked San Francisco. I love their legacy. I love Jerry Rice. I think their branding is really cool. When they came to the Link, they came in droves. The regular season game, not the playoff game, and they've just been whining and complaining the whole damn time. You sound like just get over it. Y'all lost. Like,
I think Bosa brother Nick Bosa, I think, is a bit of a scumbag. Like,
he's sitting there cursing at us in the parking lot, saying, "I'm rich, I can pay my fines." I'm like, all right, dude,
have some grace, have some class.
Take this L with class. Take this L with class.
You can't do it.
All right, let's get back into the draft.
Let us. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. So we talked about our first round picks, and then in the second round with the number, I guess is that still considered the second round? Number 65?
Yep.
Or maybe that's the beginning of the third round. Third round. This website's wrong. Learn how to do math. So third round, we have back-to-back picks. So we traded up, I believe, to get the number 66 pick, because originally I think we just had number 65. So Howie did some wheeling and dealing in order to set us up for that back-to-back situation where we drafted an offensive lineman from Alabama.
Love it.
Tyler Steen. Hey, good up. I think he passed the offensive lineman name test. I feel like Steen.
Agreed. Like
Steen.
Like steer. Like tough, strong.
Like
yeah.
strong. Steen. Steen is Danish for strong. And then right after that, we take a safety out of Illinois, Sidney Brown, who I'm not going to pretend like I know a bunch about. I know that we had a Sidney Jones. I know that we had a Sheldon Brown. And now what I believe is we have he is going to take the powers of both of them, such as like in Space Jam where you're taking the Monstar power out of the basketball. And he's just going to be an absolute stud because his name's Sidney Brown. And so anyway, he's also a twin. So that's a fun fact. And he was just another guy that like you hear about his skill set. You see the highlights, which every draft we look at these things like, oh, this guy looks incredible, but it feels like there's a lot of promise. So 2 absolutely solid draft picks that seem like they're going to be able to at least have a good backup role. We're always looking for depth, especially on the offensive line and in the secondary. It still looks like Reed Blankenship and Terrell Edmonds are going to start at safety, but hey, we want depth. We got depth. So would love to pick your brains on these picks as well.
Let me just jump in. One thing about Sidney Brown, I'll always have love for Temple in my heart. But my second alma mater is the University of Minnesota, and I root for their football team during the college football season. Last year, the Minnesota quarterback threw what I thought was just such a routine pass that there's no other player on the field that could have caught that ball but the receiver. And out of nowhere, I see this kid from the University of Illinois, because they play in the Big Ten. Sidney Brown comes in, intercepts the ball, and I was like, who the heck was this kid? And now guess what? He's an Eagle. That kid is an Eagle. I'm excited to have him here.
He's an Eagle.
So, interesting fact about Sidney Brown, he's actually from Canada. His hometown is London, Ontario, which I thought was pretty interesting. And he's only 5'10". So he's very, very, very short. For a DB, that's, I guess it's not unprecedented, but I think like those are like the immediate concerns with him. And he has a 10 and a quarter inch hand. They have the hand stats now on all of these things because they rip on all these quarterbacks.
Well, Jared Goff was known for the small hands.
Kenny Pickett, yes.
Kenny Pickett, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. I remember Joe Burrow went on he's like, I don't know how I'm supposed to throw the ball with these ridiculous tiny hands that I don't know how I'm supposed to grip the ball with these ridiculous small hands.
I hope my hands don't fail me, these tiny hands.
But yeah, I mean, once we start getting into like the third round, you start to really think about, is Sidney Brown going to be the starter or not? But yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It seems like everyone's really high up on him. NFL gave him a 6.14, really high athleticism score, so it looks pretty dope.
And then back to Steen real quick. So he's a guard from Alabama. I believe we drafted Landon Dickerson. I believe he was also on Alabama. And I was thinking Cam Jurgens, but I think Cam was he Notre Dame?
Can't remember.
I can probably find it really quick.
Don't fail us now, Googs.
Oh, he plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm just kidding.
Thank goodness for
while Alex is looking that up.
Oh man.
But yeah, I don't know why I'm picturing
Nebraska. He played for Nebraska. That's right, Cornhusker. White dude from the Cornhusker. Yeah,
that's
Jurgens.
a strong
as
offensive
our friend Colin would say, big burly white fella.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Sidney Brown, he's got a twin brother, Chase Brown. He plays was drafted to the Cincinnati Bengals. Plays a running back.
Elite family, man. Could you imagine this?
This is like Tiki and Rondé Barber all over again.
They should. That's exactly what I was thinking of. They need to like call them up and like I don't know. Ask. I don't know where I was going. The 4 of them should go get dinner. And, Sidney and his brother should ask Tiki and Rondé, hey, do you guys have any advice for us? Because we're kind of like you.
I'm sure they'll ask it just like that.
Yeah. That is all I have to say about that. They'll ask it just like that. I guess to continue on with some of these draft picks, Alex, you'd sent a screenshot, I think, like maybe during round 1 or 2, because we were talking a little bit about Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia. There was a little bit of excitement maybe around him, but there was also, is it Kaylee Ringo or Kelly?
Yeah, it's like Keely Ringo. I think it's like Keely. Yeah, I think so.
We'll get better at these names, I promise. But Ringo was another Georgia guy that we were looking at, another position that we could probably use a little bit of depth. So sure enough, boom, Howie. I still don't, like, somebody pinch me. What is this whole thing where he's picking guys that, like, I support every single round and not asking what are you doing?
Well, and apparently there's like a whole bunch of dismay against Howie Roseman across the league because like everyone feels just like he got like perhaps maybe just draft better. Perhaps don't like look at schools like NDSU and think that there's going to be all-stars that come out of there. Maybe just look at like the team that had the best defense last year and the best offense and maybe get players from that team. So Kelly Ringo, that should be an interesting pickup. I mean, his highlight reel looked pretty good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I sit here and watch a ton of college football stats. My wife already loses me during the NFL season and like with the show and everything like that. So like to do all this off season, combine research is really, something that I'm happily married. I want to stay married. But yeah, I mean, the formula is just very, very, very simple. Draft the best players available from the best schools into there, and everyone gives. I'm just having a hard
time. I'm having a hard time understanding how we keep getting these. Again, we don't know how it's going to pan out. College is very different from the NFL. But looking at some of these combine scores, they ranked Kelly Ringo as the 10th best cornerback in the 2023 combine. And we got him in the 4th round. I asked the question, are they dumb or are we smart? Or is it a combination of the two?
I mean, is that where, if you're the 10th best at a position, to me, I guess it doesn't sound too far-fetched for that person to go in the 4th round. It just depends on, I guess, positions of need. And if you're number 10, it's not, if you're not first, you're last, or it's like, if you're not the cream of the crop at that position, then you can go anywhere from, the 2nd round to the 5th round. It's hard to say. I feel like the only position at this point that I have questions about is punting. Like I was kind of secretly hoping.
Yeah.
I was secretly hoping we would draft a punter but after Siposs had that beautiful end zone save last year and kind of saved some points, I'm like, whatever, Siposs, you can stick around.
I mean, here's the biggest question. When we draft all of these Georgia players, this came up on Reddit, and I think it's a really important thing to know because we have all these Georgia players. Our, word mark is now the Georgia G and like Bulldogs and everything. So the question is how and when do I bark at children? Is there a particular cadence to bark? Should this only be done to bad children like Cowboys fans or indiscriminately? Thanks for assistance in this matter. And I think these are like some really hard, questions that we need to answer is like, when do we start barking? The cadence, how often do we bark? Should we just draft the actual Georgia Bulldog at this time and just have, I don't know the Bulldog's name, but I should probably get immersed in that side of the culture and bring him onto the field? Like, does he get treats? Does he roll? Like, does he do tricks? Like, I don't know. These are really, really important questions.
But him and Swoop need to, like, they need to do something together.
That is an insane marketing opportunity if I've ever heard one. We need to copy that right now.
Swoop and the Bulldog, a new Dr. Seuss book.
Oh, man.
That's great.
Anyway. What else we want to talk about? We can end it short. I'm just excited, man. I just can't wait for a freaking football season to start. I am so looking forward to this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Uga.
I'm trying to remember.
Uga. I don't know. I think.
No, there's some Georgia fan on here. It's probably like cussing you out right now.
Oogie.
It's Oogie the Bulldog.
Uga.
Javon Carter. I can say
UGA? Oh, it's pronounced.
Yeah, I mean, it's UGA for University of Georgia, but I don't know how to pronounce Uga.
Right, obviously.
No, so one of the things that I found pretty interesting about Bill Belichick was he'd always contact Nick Saban leading up to the next season to sort of get his take on different prospects that the Patriots were looking at. So if this is a sort of a sign of things to come, where we're looking at the University of Georgia's program and really liking what's coming out of there and building a relationship with that staff, I like it. I like it a lot.
I'm picturing Bill Belichick and Nick Saban having a conversation together, and they are both like two of the most monotone, like boring speakers. So I'm picturing them just like literally grunting at each other, not even speaking words, just being like, and then Saban's like, and then Bill's like, and then he just knows, all right, I'll take that guy.
Ali, you have to make that into a
For
short.
sure.
That's hilarious. All right, guys. Well, yeah, that was our little draft recap coverage. So excited. I mean, we really couldn't have done any better. There's no downsides to anything that we did. Like I said, you have to see how these players turn out and how they pan out. I just saw a tweet 1 hour ago. DeAndre Swift is at the NovaCare complex right now.
Oh, baby. He's home. He's home.
All smiles, man. It's so exciting. So we'll keep you posted on what's upcoming. Hopefully, the free agency is still not over. There's still a ton that could happen before the season. So if there's any new news, new things that we should discuss, we'll bring you another episode. But if we don't, we'll see y'all in a few weeks. Thanks for tuning in and check us out on YouTube. Peace.
Oh, yeah.